Welcome back to a new video. In this series, we explore the sea deities of Greek mythology, the forces beneath the waves, unseen and ancient. Commanded by the sea king Poseidon and his queen Amphitrite, these beings shape the fears and dreams of seafaring Greece. In this video we focus on all the deities of the sea. We start off with Nereus, the old man of the sea. He is not a god of thunder, not a lord of war, not a ruler on a throne. He is older than the storm, deeper than the tide, and gentler than the breeze. He is the ancient memory of the ocean, before Poseidon, before Olympus, before the world had order. Who is Nereus? Nereus is one of the primordial sea deities, a son of Pontus, sea, and Gaia, earth. He belongs to the generation before the Titans, and long before the Olympians. He is a being of deep time, born when the world was young and formless. He lives not in a palace, but in the formless deep, far below the waves, in the salt-shadowed silence where light does not reach. He does not seek worship, offerings, or temples. Instead, he offers truth, if you can endure the test of transformation. The Greeks called him Helios Geron, the old man of the sea, and they both respected and feared his quiet power. Nereus is known for prophetic knowledge. Nereus knows the fates of gods and mortals alike. His truths are never wrong, but rarely easy to obtain. Shape-shifting, he constantly changes form to avoid capture, becoming animals, elements, fire, water, or smoke. Gentle nature, unlike many gods, Nereus does not deceive, rage, or punish. His power lies in endurance and knowledge, not violence. Sea personified, he is the sea not as chaos, but as constancy. The reliable tide. The quiet undertow. The depth that holds mysteries. Family and descendants. Nereus married Doris, a daughter of Oceanus and Tethys. Together, they had 50 daughters, known as the Nereids, each a minor goddess of the sea. Some of the most famous Nereids include Thetis, who would bear the hero Achilles, loved by both gods and mortals, and fated to bear a son greater than his father. Amphitrite, chosen by Poseidon to be his queen, though she fled to escape him, and had to be found by a dolphin. Galatea, beloved by the Cyclops Polyphemus in tragic myth. Psamathe, Dion, Cymodos, each representing a different face of the ocean, calm seas, foam, storms, reefs, and coastal breezes. Together, the Nereids were both beautiful and benevolent, protectors of sailors, mourners of shipwrecks, dancers in seafoam. Nereus, their father, was revered not for his rule, but for the legacy of grace he passed on. Symbolism of Nereus. Primordial ocean wisdom. Nereus symbolizes the unchanging depth of the sea, not its rage, but its endurance. He is knowledge untouched by time, a force older than even memory. In myths, he represents the idea that truth must be pursued, wrestled, and won. Transformation and testing. To gain prophecy from Nereus, one must hold fast through all his forms: fire, beast, water, wind. This makes him a symbol of transformation through perseverance. To know the future, you must endure the present, no matter how it changes shape. Balance between chaos and calm. In contrast to Poseidon's wrath, Nereus is the sea's orderly heart. He is not the wave that crashes, but the tide that returns. Not the scream of a storm, but the deep hum of ancient currents. Appearance and iconography. Depicted as an elderly man with a long, seaweed-like beard. Skin of a pale or sea green hue. Often shown with the tail of a fish, or emerging from coral and kelp. He may be accompanied by dolphins, sea lions, or Nereids. His eyes are said to reflect the ocean, endless, calm, and unknowable. While Proteus and Triton would later take on similar roles, Nereus remains the prototype, the first embodiment of the living sea. Stories and myths of Nereus. Myth number 1, Heracles and the Golden Apples. When Heracles was tasked with retrieving the golden apples of the Hesperides, he had no idea where they were. Only Nereus knew. So Heracles waited by the sea, ambushed the old man as he slept, and held on as Nereus changed into water, fire, lion, snake, and more. Only when Heracles refused to let go did Nereus give the answer, not out of spite, but respect. Myth number 2, Thetis marriage and the end of divine lineage. Thetis, Nereus' daughter, was beloved by Zeus and Poseidon, but both withdrew when they learned a prophecy. Her child would be mightier than his father. So Thetis was married off to a mortal, Peleus. Nereus likely foresaw this too, and said nothing. From that union came Achilles, the last and greatest hero before the age of myth faded. Myth number 3, the forgotten god. In later myths, Nereus fades. His name becomes a whisper, eclipsed by Triton, Glaucus, and Poseidon. But sailors still speak of a calm voice in the deep. A presence felt during shipwrecks, not angry, but watching. Some say he still walks the seafloor, dreaming of a time before the gods, when the sea was the only god there was. Nereus is a god of stillness in a pantheon of chaos. He is not a figure of fear or fury, but of deep memory, quiet truths, and unshakable presence. He reminds us that wisdom is earned, not given. Change is constant, but some truths are eternal. And the sea, vast, ancient, unknowable, will always outlast the storm. The next one we focus on is Triton, the trumpeter of the deep. He is not a god of fate or judgment. He does not weigh souls or whisper prophecy. But his voice shapes the sea itself. He is the herald of Poseidon, the son of the sea, and the sound that signals power rising from the depths. Who is Triton? Triton is a sea god, the son of Poseidon, lord of the oceans, and Amphitrite, queen of the sea. Unlike his father, who rules with earthquakes and storms, Triton is a servant, a guardian, a guide. But do not mistake him for weak. He carries the voice of the ocean, and when he speaks, the world listens. He lives in a golden palace beneath the sea, often said to be near the depths of the Aegean or off the coast of Libya. There, he dwells among fish, corals, and currents, half man, half fish, and wholly divine. Triton is known for his conch shell trumpet. With it, he can calm or stir the seas. The sound terrifies monsters, scatters fleets, or summons storms. Shape-shifting, like Nereus and Proteus, he sometimes takes different forms to confuse or test mortals. Strength and speed, he rides sea creatures across the ocean and is swift enough to carry messages between gods. Guidance and protection, as a messenger of the deep, he often helps heroes, or tests their resolve. Though younger than many primordial sea beings, Triton still commands awe and respect. Appearance and iconography. Triton is the first known merman in Greek mythology. Later legends would use his name as a title for all male sea spirits. He is described as a muscular upper body of a man, a powerful fishtail from the waist down, hair of seaweed or foam, a beard soaked in brine, often shown blowing a conch shell, from which his divine call echoes. Sometimes riding a hippocamp, a seahorse creature, part horse, part fish. Surrounded by dolphins, sea monsters, or churning waves. Roman mosaics often show him surging from the sea, leading Poseidon's procession, part of the thundering, aquatic parade of gods and beasts. Triton's role in myth. 1. Argonautica, guiding Jason. In the myth of the Argonauts, Jason and his crew become lost in the deserts of Libya after being swept inland by strange waters. Desperate and surrounded by salt and sand, they pray to the gods. A mysterious figure appears, a being with a conch, fishtail, and immense strength. He takes their ship, lifts it to his shoulder, and carries it back to the sea. Only afterward do they realize who it was, Triton, son of Poseidon, who had taken mortal form to test their humility. 2. The Gigantomachy, battle with the giants. During the war between the Olympians and the giants, Triton fought alongside his father. He is said to have terrified the enemies by blowing his conch shell, causing such panic that entire armies fled the battlefield. This sound, wild, unearthly, and deep as the abyss, became a symbol of divine power over chaos. 3. Roman myths and Tritons. In later Roman tradition, Tritons became a race, many sea spirits like him, riding the waves in Neptune's retinue. They appear in art and literature as symbols of the ocean's might, carrying tridents, blowing horns, and pulling the chariots of sea gods. But Triton himself remains unique, a named being, a prince of the deep, not just another spirit of salt and spray. Triton symbolizes the voice of the sea. Triton's conch is more than a weapon, it's a voice. It reminds mortals that the sea can speak. It can scream. It can summon. And it can silence. His call is the boundary between calm and storm, between voyage and wreck. Power and servitude. Unlike his father Poseidon, Triton is not a king, but a servant who wields power wisely. He reminds us that strength can be found in guidance, not just in domination. He is a god who acts, not to rule, but to restore balance. Chthonic connection. Though not of the underworld, Triton shares traits with chthonic deities. He dwells in a hidden, unknowable place, the abyss. He can appear in visions or rise from nowhere. And his presence means change is coming, from above or below. Final thoughts. Triton is a god between worlds. Part man, part fish. Part prince, part servant. Part storm, part silence. He reminds us that the sea has depth beyond measure, and voices beyond hearing. He is not the ruler of the ocean, but its herald. The sound before the wave. The silence after the storm. The warning in the wind. The third one is Amphitrite. Queen of the sea. Goddess of the salt, the swell, and the silent vastness below. She is often overshadowed by her consort, Poseidon. But before he ruled the waves, she was already there. Watching. Flowing. Enduring. Who is Amphitrite? Amphitrite is a primordial sea goddess, daughter of Nereus, the wise old man of the sea, and Doris, an Oceanid. She is one of the Nereids, 50 daughters born from the foam and coral of the ancient ocean. Unlike the Olympian gods, the Nereids were not rulers, they were elements. Currents. Whirlpools. Amphitrite, their eldest or most prominent, embodied the vast and fertile ocean. Where Poseidon represents the power of the sea, Amphitrite represents its life-giving force. She is also closely associated with the Tethys lineage, making her part of the Titan-era forces that shaped the world before the Olympians ever rose. The marriage of Poseidon and Amphitrite. Poseidon saw her dancing on the Isle of Naxos, among the dolphins, laughing with her sisters. He fell in love instantly and asked her to be his queen. But she refused, fleeing to the edge of the sea near Atlas, where no god could find her. She didn't want power. She didn't want Olympus. She wanted to remain wild, like the sea itself. It was Delphinus, a dolphin, who found her and convinced her gently, not with force, but with understanding. Poseidon honored this act by placing Delphinus as a constellation in the stars. And Amphitrite became queen, not out of submission, but by choosing to shape the sea from within. Amphitrite is known for regal authority. As queen of the sea, she commands the respect of all ocean life, from fish to leviathans. Giver of sea fertility, she governs the nourishing abundance of the sea, its fish, its plants, its currents. Protector of the depths, she is a guardian of sacred places, hidden trenches, underwater sanctuaries, and sea caves untouched by time. Mistress of harmony, while Poseidon stirs the waters with rage, Amphitrite is the stillness after. She restores what is broken. She is a mother figure, to Triton, to sea creatures, and to the balance that keeps the ocean alive. Iconography and symbols. Amphitrite appears in countless artworks, especially Roman mosaics, where she is revered as a divine beauty. A tall, noble woman with sea-green eyes and hair flowing like waves. Often crowned with a diadem of pearls and draped in robes of foam and kelp. Rides a chariot pulled by hippocamps, half horse, half fish. Flanked by dolphins, tritons, nereids, and other marine spirits. Carries a net, trident, or seashell, symbols of dominion over water and its creatures. In some depictions, coral grows along her arms, and barnacles cling like jewelry, a reminder that she is not just near the ocean, she is part of it. Myths and Legends of Amphitrite. 1. The creation of sea life. Some Orphic traditions and later poets describe Amphitrite as the matrix of marine creation, the one who breathes life into coral reefs, fish, and even sea nymphs. Just as Gaia birthed landbound creatures, Amphitrite birthed the ocean's pulse. 2. The wrath of the sea queen. Though often calm, Amphitrite has her storms. When Poseidon pursued Scylla, Amphitrite brewed a potion of seaweed and venom, casting it into the waters where the nymph bathed. Scylla was transformed into a monstrous, tentacled horror, a warning that the queen of the sea does not forgive betrayal lightly. 3. The sanctuary of Amphitrite. In some coastal cities like Tenaron and Delos, sailors built shrines beneath cliffs or near sea caves in her honor. They left offerings of salt, pearls, or even captured fish. But they prayed in silence, for Amphitrite favored quiet reverence over loud praise. To disturb her sanctuaries was to risk currents that never let go. Amphitrite and chthonic power. Though not of the underworld, Amphitrite shares chthonic traits. She rules a hidden, dark, ancient realm. She is fertile yet untamable, like the soil or the womb. She demands respect, not worship, and punishes arrogance. She connects the surface to the depths, like all liminal deities. Amphitrite is the chthonic sea, cold, dark, maternal, unknowable. Legacy and later influence. In Roman culture, Amphitrite blended with Cilicia, goddess of salt and the open sea. During the Renaissance, she was reborn in sculpture and painting as a figure of divine femininity, elegant, remote, and powerful. In modern times, her name appears in ship names, poetic texts, and even marine biology. Yet, her true myth remains submerged, glimpsed only in fragments, like pearls buried deep in the ocean floor. Final thoughts. Amphitrite is not a goddess of war. She is not thunder. She is the deep. She is the tide that rises without permission. The breath of life in seawater. The calm that can kill or cradle. Her silence is not weakness. It is the strength of oceans, measured in centuries. The fourth one is Produce. Sea god of rivers and prophetic shapeshifting. He is a shapeshifter. And a seer. A god who tells the truth, but only if you can hold on to him. Who is Produce? Produce is a primordial sea deity, one of the oldest in Greek mythology. He is often described as a servant or herdsman of Poseidon, guarding the sea's sacred seals or leading the flocks of fish across the deep. But Produce is far more than a caretaker. He is a spirit of ancient knowledge, of hidden truths, and ever-changing form. He is a god of elusiveness, the one who knows everything but will not speak unless compelled. To the Greeks, he was the embodiment of the sea itself, ever-shifting, unknowable, both serene and violent. What makes Produce unique? Shapeshifter supreme, Produce can transform into anything: a lion, a serpent, water, fire, wind, even elemental forces themselves. Seer of truth, he knows all things, past, present, and future. But he shares his visions only when captured and restrained. Reluctant oracle, he despises giving prophecy. He prefers solitude, sleeping in sea caves or among the foam, slipping away when approached. Elder power, Produce predates the Olympians. He is a titanic figure, a leftover from the world before Zeus' order. The nature of Produce. Produce represents the fluidity of truth, how answers are not always fixed, how identity can be many things at once. His name likely comes from the same root as proto, meaning first or original. He may have once been a primordial sea god, later reduced to a minor figure in myth as Poseidon and others rose to prominence. But make no mistake, Produce is no lesser spirit. He is old, wild, and full of mystery. Myths and encounters. 1. Menelaus and the Shapeshifter. In Homer's Odyssey, Produce is encountered by Menelaus, the king of Sparta. After the Trojan War, Menelaus is stranded on a remote island. His ships are becalmed. He cannot sail home. He is told that only Produce knows the way. But Produce will not answer questions freely. So, Menelaus hides in seal skin, waits until Proteus is asleep, and then wrestles him into submission. Proteus changes forms wildly, a lion, a tree, a river, a fire, but Menelaus holds fast. At last, the old god yields. He reveals how Menelaus can reach home, and also shares the fates of other Greeks, including Odysseus. 2. The Eternal Shepherd. Some myths show Proteus not as a prisoner or oracle, but as a solitary guardian of Poseidon's sea creatures, especially seals and sea lions. He lives in peace, far from Olympus, surfacing only when disturbed. To these myths, he is not malevolent or helpful, just ancient and indifferent, like a storm on the horizon. Proteus as a chthonic force. Proteus is not a god of the underworld, but he is deeply chthonic in spirit. He is ancient, older than Olympus. He lives apart from the gods, in hidden, liminal spaces. He knows fates, secrets, and truths that mortals fear to ask. He resists control, much like death, much like fate. In many ways, Proteus is a chthonic sea oracle, more spirit than god, more truth than form. Symbols and iconography. Proteus is rarely depicted in grand temples or statues. He is too elusive for that. But when he is shown, he often appears as an old, bearded man, sometimes with seaweed in his hair, surrounded by seals, fish, and other marine animals, holding a staff or trident, sometimes curled like a shepherd's crook. Mid-transformation, part beast, part man, with shifting limbs or watery skin. Modern interpretations often show him as a green-skinned spirit, emerging from tidipools, half-formed. Proteus in philosophy and literature. In later centuries, Proteus became a symbol of change itself. The philosopher Heraclitus said, "You cannot step into the same river twice," an idea rooted in Proteus' essence. In Shakespeare's The Two Gentlemen of Verona, the character Proteus is a man of shifting loyalties, a reflection of the god's mutability. Carl Jung used protean to describe aspects of the unconscious, shifting, unknowable, yet deeply truthful. Final thoughts. Proteus does not want your prayers. He does not want worship or temples or gold. He wants to be left alone. But if you are desperate, if you are lost, and no other god will help you, you may find him sleeping on a lonely rock, surrounded by seals. And if you are brave enough to hold on, through storm, fire, serpent, and smoke, he may, at last, speak the truth. But be warned. Truth is rarely what we hope to hear. The next one are the Nereids. The sea nymphs. They are the daughters of prophecy and ocean, of wisdom and flow. They are not just companions of the waves, they are the sea. Who are the Nereids? The Nereids are the 50 daughters of Nereus, the shape-shifting, prophetic old man of the sea, and Doris, a daughter of Oceanus and Tethys. This makes the Nereids granddaughters of primordial titans, deeply woven into the fabric of the world's earliest forces. They are not Olympian, and not mortal, they are part of the world's elemental balance. They belong to the sea's middle realm, not the gods' bright heavens above, not the silent depths of Hades below, but the eternal motion between. They live in a shimmering undersea palace in the Aegean, adorned with coral, pearls, and flowing silver light. But they also move freely through rivers, bays, and oceans, as witnesses, protectors, and messengers. What do the Nereids symbolize? Balance. They represent the sea as a life-giving force and a destroyer, a protector and a threat. Generosity. Fishermen, sailors, and travelers depended on their favor. Nereids bring bounty in calm seas. Femininity and power. Though gentle in nature, they carry the awe and unpredictability of the sea. Transformation and liminality. Like the tides, they exist in flux, between land and sea, mortal and divine. Some myths speak of Nereids who fell in love with mortals, others who saved them from drowning, and still others who vanished like mist when offended. They are divine, but close enough to touch. The most notable Nereids. While 50 are named in ancient texts, several stand out across myth and memory. Thetis. A figure of immense power. She resisted Zeus and Poseidon until prophecy declared her son would surpass his father. To avoid being overthrown, the gods married her to a mortal, Peleus. Her son was Achilles, hero of the Iliad. Thetis tried to make him invulnerable by dipping him in the river Styx, but where her fingers held him, he remained mortal. She is a symbol of maternal grief, foresight, and frustrated divinity. Amphitrite. Queen of the Sea. Wife of Poseidon. She initially fled his advances and hid among the Nereids, until a dolphin found her and convinced her to accept his love. That dolphin was later honored in the stars as a constellation. Amphitrite is regal, composed, and rules the sea not with force, but with grace and presence. Galatea. Loved by the Cyclops Polyphemus, but in love with Acis, a mortal shepherd. When Polyphemus saw them together, he crushed Acis with a boulder. Galatea, in her grief, turned her lover's blood into a river, the river Acis, so that part of him would always live. Her myth is one of love, loss, and transformation. Psamathe. Linked to sand and coastal winds. She bore a son by Aeacus, king of Aegina, Phocis, whose name means seal. To escape Aeacus, Psamathe transformed into a seal herself, a classic nymph motif of metamorphosis and escape. The Nereids in myth and worship. They appear across many famous myths. Jason and the Argonauts. When Jason and his crew sailed between the clashing rocks, Symplegades, the Nereids, led by Thetis, rose from the sea to guide their ship, pushing it through the crashing danger. The Iliad. When Achilles learns of Patroclus's death, he weeps. Thetis hears him and rises from the sea with her sisters, the Nereids, to mourn with him. They are divine witnesses to human sorrow. Cult practices. While they had no grand temples, Nereids were honored at coastal shrines. Sailors might leave offerings of milk, honey, oil, or salt before voyages. Their names were invoked during childbirth, sea crossings, and even funerals, moments when fate, water, and life intertwine. Chthonic aspects of the Nereids. Though not underworld goddesses, the Nereids bear many chthonic qualities. They are ancient, pre-Olympian, and born of Titan bloodlines. They dwell beneath the visible world, in caves, in water, in the mystery between life and death. They appear at times of transition, birth, death, love, transformation, and catastrophe. Like other chthonic beings, they must be respected, not commanded. They are not wrathful like the Erinyes, but they are not tame. The ocean is not yours to own, it is theirs. Appearance and iconography. Often shown as young women with flowing hair, either nude or clothed in sea-colored garments. Frequently depicted riding dolphins, seahorses, or waves. Associated with pearls, shells, coral, dolphins, and tridents. Sometimes shown with dripping seaweed or crowned with foam. Artistic depictions often blur the line between mortal beauty and divine presence. Unlike sirens, the Nereids are not temptresses. They do not lure, they reveal. Legacy and influence. The Nereids are part of marine mythology across the Mediterranean. In Roman mythology, they appear as Nereides, and are invoked in poetry and seafaring tales. Their imagery survives in mermaid legends, and their names live on in stars, moons, like Neptune's moon Nereid, and oceanographic terms. In art, they inspired Renaissance paintings, romantic sculpture, and even operas like Galatea e Polifemo. They are still invoked today as symbols of the deep, feminine mystery of the sea. Final thoughts. The Nereids are not rulers, not warriors, not queens. They are nature, personified, the sea's gentler soul. They do not conquer, but they shape destinies all the same. You don't pray to them. You respect them. They are tide and breath. Song and silence. They are the pause before a wave breaks, and the shimmer left after it crashes. And the last ones are Phorcys and Ceto. The parents of monsters, the keepers of mythic fear. They are not Olympians. They are not heroes. They are the ocean's ancient bloodline, the primal creators of everything humanity calls monstrous. Phorcys and Ceto are siblings, consorts, and co-creators. They are children of Gaia, Earth, and Pontus, Sea, born before time was measured in Olympian reigns. They represent the ocean not as a pathway, but as a place of origins, deep, vast, and unknowable. Phorcys is sometimes imagined as a gray, scaled elder of the deep, part man, part crab or fish, a watchful god of oceanic threats. Ceto is more elusive, often depicted as a dragon-like sea creature, a great feminine force from which horror is born. She is not evil, but she is mother to all things that make men shudder. Together, they govern the dark wilds of the ocean, where evolution gives rise to the impossible. What do Phorcys and Ceto symbolize? Origin through fear. In Greek thought, monsters weren't random, they were lessons, warnings, guardians. Phorcys and Ceto gave birth to those lessons. The mystery of the sea. Before science, people explained deep sea horrors through divinity. The gods of those terrors were these two. Chthonic primacy. They come from a time when gods were raw forces, not human-like rulers. They represent sea as primal matter, not yet refined. Motherhood and mutation. Ceto is a goddess of monstrous maternity. Not nurturing, but creative in wild, ungovernable ways. The children of Phorcys and Ceto, monsters and myths. The Gorgons, Medusa and her sisters. 3 sisters, Stheno, Euryale, and Medusa. All were born monstrous, except Medusa, who was once a mortal maiden. In Ovid's Metamorphoses, Medusa was a beautiful priestess in Athena's temple. When Poseidon violated her there, Athena punished Medusa by transforming her into a creature with snakes for hair, her gaze turning all to stone. Later, Perseus was sent to kill her. With Athena's shield as a mirror and Hermes' sickle, he beheaded her. From her blood sprang Pegasus and Chrysaor, further proof that even monsters can be vessels of wonder. The Grey Sisters. Named in Io, Dano, and Pimfredo, these 3 crones shared one eye and one tooth between them. They stood at the border of knowledge, guarding the way to the Gorgons. Perseus stole their eye to force them to reveal Medusa's location, a tale of cunning over fate. They are not evil, but gatekeepers of truth too dangerous to know easily. Echidna, the mother of monsters. Half-beautiful woman, half-serpent, Echidna was born of Phorcys and Ceto in some traditions, or of Tartarus and Gaia in others. She mated with Typhon, the storm monster, and bore the great beasts of Greek myth. Cerberus, the 3-headed hound of Hades. The Hydra, slain by Heracles. Chimera, the lion-goat-serpent hybrid. Orthrus, a 2-headed dog. Echidna is the shadow of maternal power, not nurturing, but mythic progenitor of everything heroes must overcome. Ladon, the serpent of the Hesperides. In some versions, Phorcys is the father of Ladon, the 100-headed dragon who guarded the golden apples in the garden of the Hesperides. Heracles, in his 11th labor, was sent to retrieve the apples, but Ladon would not let him pass. With Athena's help, Heracles slew the beast, and the serpent's image was placed in the sky, as the constellation Draco. Scylla, terror of the strait. Some sources list Ceto as the mother of Scylla, the cliff-dwelling sea monster who devoured sailors in the Strait of Messina. In Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus must pass between Scylla and Charybdis, the whirlpool, a metaphor for navigating danger. Scylla had 6 heads, each with razor teeth. She snapped up sailors like flies. Once a beautiful nymph, she was transformed by jealousy or divine wrath, depending on the myth, into a horror of the rocks. She is not a villain. She is a place, a fate, a warning written into the water. Their place in the mythic cosmos. Phorcys and Ceto exist in the background, but their influence touches nearly every heroic story. Without their children, there are no trials. No Medusa to slay, no Hydra to conquer, no straits to pass. They are the source of opposition, the line between safety and the void. Not evil, but the necessary force that pushes myths forward. They remind us that the sea, and life, does not reward ease. It demands courage. And sometimes, it bites. Worship, lore, and legacy. Phorcys and Ceto had no temples. No hymns were sung to them. but their children were feared, avoided, named only in necessity. The Greeks respected boundaries, and these gods were boundaries. In later traditions, their names live on. The word cetology, the study of whales, comes from ceto. Phorcys became the root of names for sea beasts in medieval bestiaries. They appear in the writings of Hesiod, Homer, and Apollodorus, always on the edges of known story. In art, they are rarely shown, but their children fill pottery, sculpture, and epic verse. Final thoughts. Phorcys and ceto are the stillness at the bottom of the sea. They are the mythic echo that tells you not to look too closely into the dark. Their children became legends. But they are the reason legends exist. They are fear made flesh. They are the sea's dark memory. They are not gods you worship, they are gods you heed. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want a video about a specific mythological being, please let me know in the comments. Have a great day. And the next time you look at the waves, ask yourself, what ancient eyes might be watching from below?